Hi, welcome back to Crossfader. My name's Jamie Hartley, and in today's tutorial we're going to explain one of the easiest ways to transition when mixing house music. This is a drop mixing tutorial. You're going to learn where to set up hot cues on your songs, how to perform the drop mixing transition, and some tips for making it sound nice and clean. We're going to go through a few examples showing you how to drop mix and swap drops over, how to swap breakdowns over, and how to sample different sections of songs in. Please remember, if you enjoy this tutorial and learn something from it, to subscribe, like, thumbs up, do all that good stuff, and hit that bell icon to get more videos just like this. Drop mixing in house music or EDM music is one of the easiest transitions to learn. It's a very good one for beginners to use to still create energy in their sets and to keep the pace up. The real techniques you're going to have to learn here are timing. You've got to get really confident at pressing play on beat as well as moving the fader at the same time. So you need to practice this over and over until you're very confident with the timing of the music and how to press play at the right time. Let's have a look first though how to set up the hot cues and where to set up the hot cues to perform different styles of drop mixing. The first one we're going to do is swapping the drop from one song to another. So we're actually going to replace one drop with another. I've got loaded on the left hand side Dolly Rush. What we're going to do is replace the drop here. We're going to replace that drop with Sweet Memories, CID and Cascade. So what I need to do is get to the drop of the song and set up a hot cue. On the DJ SB3 I can hold shift and use the jog wheel to scroll through it much faster, or we can use the mouse to just skip on the waveform. Let's move our playhead just onto the drop there and set up the second hot cue. Now for drop mixing, you'll make sure that your fader is down on the track you're dropping in. Prepare it by getting to the point you want, which is the second hot cue. Then putting the fader up. And then all we're going to do is press play and bring this fader down at exactly the same time as the song hits that drop. Now I've chosen two songs that are originally actually the same BPM. You can get away in drop mixing moving a few BPM. It doesn't have to always be the same BPM because the tracks will never be played over the top of each other. We're just swapping from one to another. However, I would recommend not jumping more than maybe 3 or even 4 at a push for BPM because it will start to sound very obvious. If you went from 120 to 128 in one mix, the audience or the listener would notice a very drastic change in music, in the pace of the music. So try and keep it as close as possible. Now let's go back on Dolly Rush, play this song. All we need to do is make sure our levels are all exactly the same so that they are going to play at the same level. Fader 2 up. And I slam the fader down nice and quick at the same time as pressing play. Now you want to make sure that your timing is perfect here. One thing you could do is count along with the music that's currently playing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And play 2, 3, 4. So you're keeping that rhythm in your head and counting along. For the next drop mix, we're going to actually go to a break in the song. The next track we have is Jump Around by House of Pain, but it's the PBH and Jack Shizzle remix. So what they've done is they've used some of the original House of Pain song to sample into a house remix. Now, this is a very recognizable song anyway, so it's really nice to use one of those samples that they've used in the song, one of those recognizable parts to drop mix into. Rather than just jumping straight into the drop, we're going to find a part of the song that's very recognizable. Let's skip in. So just before the drop, you've got this really recognizable intro. So I'm going to set a hot cue there. You've also got to remember, if you just drop mixed into the drop for every single mix, the set would have no up or down in it. It would be very just high energy, staying at this high level when you want to be able to bring the audience down and take them back up again. So little breaks like this really help in the movement of your set. Now, where to swap the drops over? What I'm going to do is swap this sample across from the breakdown of Sweet Memories, CID and Cascade. So this track's dropped in from the last mix. And then we've got a second breakdown just a bit later. And we're going to perform the drop mix here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and play. And because it's so recognizable it works, you're catching the crowd out with this nice big riff that they know. It drops in. Let's go one more time. And there we have a simple drop mix, but using a slight different part of the song. Now, you'll notice the BPMs are different, 125 up to 128, so we've jumped in BPM here, but it works. Next song we have loaded, this is slightly different. So I've already got a hot cue set, but I'm going to explain it first and foremost. This hot cue that I've got set is actually a bar or 4 beats before the drop. Have a listen. So previously we would have set the hot cue here, but I don't think that works as a drop. There isn't as much of an impact as some of the other songs. However, a lot of EDM and dance songs have some sort of lead into the drop, whether it be a vocal, it might count down, it does something, but the song will change just before the drop. And this is usually a bar in length. Now, if we listen to the music, we can hear that change, and that's where we want to set the hot cue. It's very obvious, and that is where the hot cue needs to be set. Now, one of the big mistakes is a lot of DJs will, when starting out, if they set the hot cue there, they will still press play and swap it over with the drop. But what we need to do is swap it over a bar before the drop. So basically they both line up, and the structure of the music both works together with one another. Let's have a listen to Jump Around. We've let this track drop. And what we're going to do is swap over this one with the second half of this drop. So it's coming up now. So that is where we want to swap the drops over. However, that's not where we want to press play. We're going to need to press play here. You'll notice as I drag the waveform forwards and backwards, we can, using the visuals, actually line up the drops of both songs. So here's the drop on this song, and here's the drop underneath on that one. So there, what we can do is even set a hot cue as a visual marker. It's a reminder to say, that's where we need to do the drop mix. This will work to the structure of the music much better, and it will sound much cleaner in your sets rather than pressing play here. You want to make sure the structures both overlap as well. Let's have a listen to how that sounds. And that works really nice. The last one that I've got loaded, let's have a listen. I've already got a hot cue set. This is the same principle as the last mix. It's got a nice break before the drop. But we could use either. You could use the drop on this one, or you could use the break before. I quite like that break before. This again drops down in BPM to 125. I could manually bring it up in BPM, but it should work from one to the other, even at this BPM, because it's a drop mix. I'm going to do this now just on the fly rather than setting up a hot cue. I'm going to swap it over on the next section. So I'm just waiting for the next section of music. It's coming up now. And we just keep the energy level there. Like I mentioned, you want to make sure you do take your set up and down. So don't always just go drop to drop to drop to drop. It's nice to maybe swap over breakdowns, but always think about the structure of the music. You don't want a track to build up, build up, build up, and then you drop mix a breakdown in, because you're going to take the energy level and just kill it. You want to make sure if the crowd are expecting a drop, they get a drop. If it's leading into a breakdown, they get a breakdown. Always think about that structure and practice your timing. And there it is, just a few examples of how you can use drop mixing to mix between different house songs. I hope you found this tutorial useful, And please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials like this. If you want to learn even more in depth, different creative mixing techniques with your specific piece of equipment, then please check out our online DJ courses. There's a free link that will pop up to a free lesson inside one of those courses so you can get a taster of what they're all about. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in another tutorial very soon.